Hi everyone, and thank you to MediaMorfosis as a first start. Thank you Damien, Valentina, and the whole team for having me today. As Damien said, so I'm currently the project director of the immersive competition of the Cannes Film Festival, but previously I've been in charge of 3 different markets for Cross Video Days, NewImages, and Cannes XR, and all these 3 markets were focusing on immersive and interactive content. So what I'm gonna try to do today is to share with you my, let's say, key learnings from my experience regarding distribution and how we can finance our immersive art experiences. So to start with, this infographics, I made this infographics in 2022 as part of a report for the European Union to assess what was the impact actually of our activities, of our market activities. So let's try to read it together. In 2020, we select 40 projects on NewImages Market. 16 plus 24, so 40. We divide this project in 2 categories, 2 groups. The ones who apply to NewImages Market with a LB strategy, here on the left, and the one who apply to NewImages Market, but without any LB strategy. And 2 years after, I call all the projects to see which one have been produced, distributed, how, and the result was quite interesting for me because actually pretty all the projects with the LB strategy managed to be produced and distributed, which was not the case of the majority of the projects who don't have any LB strategy. And it was a bit, surprising for me because if you remember in 2020, something happened over the world, which is a pandemic, and I felt like it was easier, to distribute a project online than location-based. But actually, I was wrong. So let's try to understand why it's like this. So if we look to the 4 projects here, linear project, immersive, who have been achieved, this is these 4 projects. And actually, these 4 projects have been produced because I think they rely on a very strong co-production strategy. So I don't know if everybody in the room is familiar with co-production, but I will define co-production as the art of dividing production tasks between different companies, on each of them on different territories. And this strategy is relevant because afterwards, each of the companies can raise additional funding to fund the same project. So if we look at the 4 projects, you see the first one I've been in co-production is a co-production between France and Germany. The other one between France, Switzerland, sorry, I should have translated the country, but France, Switzerland, Germany, and South Korea. The third one between Luxembourg, UK, France, and the last one between Taiwan and France. What we can also remark is all these projects needs at least 4 years to be developed, which is not the case with this project. It's not written here, but by memory I can tell you this project have been all developed in 2 years. So as a first conclusion of this study, I will say It's looked like it's more risky or more complicated if you don't have any LBE strategy to develop an immersive project. Also, maybe for the comparison between the two groups, it's important to note that the budget of all the projects were quite similar. They were around 500,000 euros or dollars. It's pretty much the same. So let's say they all have the same budget, but for some reason, the ones without an LBE strategy struggle a bit more to be achieved at the end. Okay. Another experience I had while I was working for NewImages was during the pandemic. We tried to find a solution, to showcase our competition. And since we weren't able to do it physically, so we partner with the Museum of Other Reality, which is a virtual world for artists. And together with NewImages, Tribeca, and Cannes XR, we decided to make an application within the mall to present our respective selections. So in total, we had, I think, more than 60 different projects. And at that point, HTC came to us and said, oh, this initiative looks pretty good, and we will love to partner with you. And I said, okay, fine. What can you offer? And they say, okay, we can put the application on our store, Viveport, and we can communicate around this application. So they offer us, emailing, homepage banner on the Viveport, also desktop banners, and they also, make a lot of relay on the social media. At the end of the festival, so we have a debrief with them, and it looked like at the end they only managed to sell 24 tickets for us. And I think it's the first time I realized, the gap we have in terms of audience between hardcore gamers and, let's say, people interested in immersive art. And actually, when you try to distribute your stuff online, you have to remind yourself that audience there is mostly hardcore gamers. And this audience is not necessarily interested by what I call immersive art. This is totally different. So I like this quote from someone you may know, from Ricardo Laganaro. Here, he also, I think it's an interesting take on this as well. Is, these people online who are used to play with immersive game, they are used to pay like sometimes $30 or $40 for one application. But the thing is, this application, since it is a game, they can, play it like a lot of times, and it is usually not the case with a narrative piece. So, in fact, the price of a narrative piece online, which is usually below than the 15, but more or less, I will say between $7 and $8, it looked like quite expensive for them at the end. So for all this reason, I will say online distribution is still, online distribution is of course an opportunity for artists, but I will strongly recommend you that go online if you have a game. If you don't, I think you should think twice about the strategy, because Um, let's say the highest revenue I ever heard about someone putting his application on the store is something about 20,000 euros or dollars. Means, if you think about it, it's less than 5% of the overall budget. So it's pretty tiny. I doesn't say that you should not do it, but you should have in mind that this is not gonna found your immersive piece. Let's try to look at the other distribution. So this is a case study from Marshmallow Laserfist, a piece called An Ocean Affair. I don't know if you know this piece, but it's been designed for 12 users. The length is 20 minutes, and this piece has been showcased in a gallery in London called the Saatchi Gallery. I think it was in 2019. So the deal between Marshmallow Laserfist and the Saatchi Gallery was a 50-50 deal on revenue share from ticketing. They had, so the experience stay 125 days, and they had sold nearly 30,000 tickets, each of them between £15 and £20. So if you make the calculation of it, they raised for the production, they raised more than 200,000 pounds, which is, you know, in comparison with online distribution, is 10 times more than what you can get online. So for something, I mean, this is something quite simple. It's like if you have two pieces with the same budget, let's say 500,000, you have the opportunity to raise only 20,000 online and 200,000 with a revenue share with a museum. Okay, on the top of the money, museums can bring some additional assets to you, which is, aside the venue, it's a captive audience, which is also important, because you don't have to work, you know, to get in touch with the audience. The audience is already there. It's quite large, different ages. It's also, usually a museum have its own communication channels, so it's pretty easy, you know, to send them some emails, to get them on the venue. So all this kind of, you know, additional services is also, I think, a strong asset for LB's strategy. Now, I would like to share with you some few hints, few recommendations if you go on a LB distribution. So the first one, I think it's something I'm sure everybody knows already, but even, you know, when I work for the Cannes Film Festival, I'm always struck by the fact that people doesn't really know what is immersive. What are we talking about? If you go on the Cannes Film Festival, you say, okay, I'm managing the immersive section. They will talk to you about Avatar, you know, the next James Cameron stuff, or a 4DX theater venue. It's really amazing. I mean, I don't know about you, but I mean, I feel like since I'm going only on immersive festivals, I feel like everybody knows what we are doing, but in fact, I'm totally wrong. And I think it's the same with museums. The first thing which is very, very important for you is just to explain what you are doing and what is immersive. You need, as Chloe Jarry said, you need to really educate them. you need to educate, but also you need to provide maybe additional services. Like usually, if the museum you're talking with is not already in the field, you need also sometimes to provide the equipment for them. You need to provide, I don't know, the dozens. And you really also explain them how to develop the distribution strategy. This is something that museums usually don't know. Another tech from MediaMorfosis from the Phi Center is, I make this quote because I think Phi have been one of the first to imagine the way how it could be great to present immersive art. Means to develop, a scenography around your immersive exhibition. I think this is pretty important. This is two different pictures. This one has been taken this edition at the Cannes Film Festival. Just because, as we already said, because people don't know about immersive, but also because they feel a bit shy, about putting the headset on for the first time. It's can be a bit impressive, and also something I really noticed this year. People fears also about people looking at them while they have their headset on. So I think designing, a scenography around your piece helps the public to understand and make them also make the experience more appealing for the first time. And I think it's really useful to unblock the reluctance of the public. The other thing which is important is, and it works pretty well this year at the Cannes Film Festival, is when you have this kind of scenography, people love to take pictures. And it's a small thing, but they love to take pictures, they love to send them to their friends, so people which are in the Palais, far from the museum. But it's helped them to get the eager to come. And it's really the same at the museums. If you have very nice scenography, you will see, organically, you will have some people, taking pictures, sending them to their friends, and at the end, it helps you to get a larger audience. Then something which is very important is when you make a collaboration, it's always important to understand what are the needs of your counterpart, right? And it's the same here. If you go to a museum to say, oh, guys, have an amazing immersive piece, it's pretty much important for you to understand why they should take your piece. And usually, I had this conversation with a museum called Le Quai d'Orsay in Paris, which present this immersive exhibition called The Impressionist. And she told me something that I want to share with you. She got for this immersive exhibition, she's got 80,000 people, which is, I think, she broke the record for an immersive exhibition in France. So that was quite impressive. But she told me, you know what? In the same space, we had another traditional exhibition, and they made 5 times more than she did with the immersive experience. So, for a museum, they will ask you, okay, how many people you can have in this space in 1 hour, and they were just calculating if it's profitable for them. This is the just basic reasoning. So you need to be prepared to answer this question. What can you say? I mean, it's physically, it's impossible to compete with, non-immersive experience, because we all know that it's difficult to have like, I don't know, 20, 30, if you have like 20 or 30 people within the same immersive experience, this is already a lot. You can do more. So how to compete with the others? So I think a cool thing she told me is about two things. One is the satisfaction rate, because so the same girl managing this exhibition, she told me we made a survey at the end of each exhibition. For the immersive one, 98% of people said the exhibition was totally great, which was only 70% for the traditional one. So one thing you can use is, okay guys, maybe we're gonna have less people, but the satisfaction rate can be increased. The other thing is, it depends on museum, but some museums may want to renew a little bit their audience. And one other thing you can tell them is, with this kind of exhibition, we can maybe reach an audience that you don't have already. And this is also something you can bring on the table. So these are the two things I will recommend you to say in a conversation with museums. Okay. Just a final word is, I mean, the presentation was a bit didactic. It's, of course, more complicated than this, but I just want to state like few points to maybe clear your minds. If we do a comparison with the traditional filmmaking, I feel like, it took times for cinema to find its business model, right? At the beginning, movies has been showcased in cafe, in fairs, and we are pretty much in the same situation. I mean, right now, I think we start a very long story, which is how we can use new technologies at the end to promote a new form of art. But it will take time. I mean, we're just at the beginning of the story. And I think we should think a little bit about how we could maybe a little bit standardize our production so we can find a business model at the end. Because, I mean, as long as we have like different formats of immersive exhibition, it's impossible for someone to see a business around it. So it's also our responsibility to think about how we can standardize a little bit our creation, so someone see the interest of, for instance, opening new venues fully dedicated to immersive. So this is something we can think about together. Thank you.
We were speaking about business models. Okay. You were saying that when the contents, immersive contents, are on streaming platforms online, people are not paying for that. They're not turning that into a business, into money. So it is showcased in places like this. But since it's about wearing headsets, it's for a single person. So how do we make it so that there's a lot of people watching our content? There is a model, and that's a model that's being used by the people at Immersive in France and people from Ideal in Barcelona. that I'm actually gonna discuss with Ellie, but it's about a lot of people together with one headset, with a headset, entering a space for commercial exhibitions like Tutankhamun or Notre Dame, or experiences where there is a metaverse and the person is wearing a headset and they are with a guide as a group and touring a place. Have you heard of that business model?
I mean, to be clear, I think, as I said, I mean, as long as we don't have any standardization, there is no business model. So we need to be creative. Right now, what I think is, for me, museums and cultural venues are maybe the best option till if we don't have a penetration rate of headset that increase. I mean, so right now it's the better option from what I think. What is cool with museum is there is a lot of them on different topics. So I think it's possible. Whatever the subject of your immersive piece is always possible to find, an interest from a museum. So this is the first thing.
Oh, yes, but those are museums in France or in Europe. In Latin America, we don't have as many museums. There's one museum per city, perhaps.
Yeah, sure. But I mean, I don't think it's impossible for a Chilean creator to be distributed in Europe. I mean, of course, it will need. That's what I said at the end of my presentation. I mean, museums are an opportunity, but you need to educate them first thing, and maybe you need someone to relay on, which is based in Europe, which is a producer that, I mean, these people know the audience, they know the museums already, they know how to fund the project. So if, as an artist in Chile, if you get in touch with someone who knows this ecosystem in Europe, of course you can be distributed.
Yes, but in order to do that in Latin America, we need to start this thinking that our audience will be the world and not doing local content. We need to make content that can work in other territories. No, and we're not thinking about the world. We don't have that notion of exporting our cultural content that way. It's okay what you're saying, but we need to first think of our products to be prepared for that market and imagine that our audience is in those museums. And let me ask you another question. Last year, we had an Argentinian case. It was a crowdfunding production business, identifying the audience and selling your audience a ticket. Those models are working in immersive experiences.
If your immersive experience is about a subject that is appealing for a large audience, then maybe it's possible to do it. But still, you will need a strong communication strategy to do it. But the thing is still, I mean, I don't feel like we have like enough people interested into immersive exhibition to fund it just because it's immersive. Because, as I said, people just don't know what are you talking about. So I think it's more about the subject. So I don't say it's impossible, but to be honest, I don't have any case study in mind who succeed doing this kind of strategy. Maybe it was possible in Argentina, but yeah.
Non-immersive. Not in immersive ones. Maybe in traditional audiovisual content, but not immersive ones. Ah, bueno. But it is still an audience. It's still an audience, and it's still a content. That's what I'm saying. Maybe a system that is potentially marketable, that does not depend on third parties, but it allows you to connect with your audience.
I think the problem with this strategy is, I mean, why should I finance a project that I can't see at the end? Because if the project is online, I need a headset. If I don't have a headset, so what is the purpose on financing this kind of exhibition? And if it's location-based, then I need to be in the location. So, you know, the interest of the public should be a bit low, maybe to finance this kind of exhibition.
Well, I think there is a path, personally. And in that path, there's something. We could have something, but what it's clear is that it's the traditional sale of tickets what is working, the ticket selling.
Yeah, I mean, so far, the best example I had in mind and I saw on the market is location-based strategy, exactly like I just presented with Marshmallow Laserfish case. This is something that is replicable. That was just an example, but of course I have many of them. Once again, I'm not saying it's easy to do it. I mean, you need to have the knowledge of your market. You need to educate the museum. It's a long process. I'm not saying this is a magic recipe, but for me, the base case study had in mind regarding how to finance immersive is this model. Yeah, definitely.
Well then, do you have any questions for Elie? What would be the role of storytelling when you have a scenario with the VR?
Yeah, for me, the objective of the scenography is not to be part of the narrative. The narrative is still in VR, but the scenography helps you, I don't know, to take some assets from your narrative and to present it physically so people can imagine what's going to be inside the VR thing.
Excellent. Another question at the back, please.
Long movies or short movies in the fictions or any documentary or video in the format of video mapping?
I know some projects, but which are all in development. So last year at Cannes, we showcased a project which was video mapping, and it was a story, but the storyline was told by the voiceover, you know, and the visual were quite abstract. So I wouldn't say it was a story in video mapping. But yeah, I know a couple of studios who are currently trying to develop, you know, a real story in video mapping. So I'm curious to see more. But yeah, you're right. Right now, I don't see really any projection mapping experience which is strong in storytelling.
I have seen one, but not in a building like we had at the party, but video mapping in large exhibition rooms, like for painters. But I've seen that kind of thing in Barcelona. No, I think it was in Matadero in Madrid. There was an exhibition about the Titanic, and at one point there was a fictional scene about the sinking of the Titanic and all of the drama involved in a square rectangular room like this one, but 10 times larger, so you felt like you were actually in the Titanic and you were going to sink, and there was a father and a child who were looking for each other on the deck. So it's an internal mapping projected. It was a spectacle, an exhibition that was dedicated to the Titanic sinking, but it wasn't video mapping because it's not giant people on the screen, so it's weird.
Well, I'm sorry if my English is not very well. I have a question. Look, everyone have a phone, right? So what we can do if maybe without the glasses, but maybe we can use the cell phone. Like, I know that we can put cell phones to make the experience like VR. So what if we try to use cell phones to, like you say, not everyone have the glasses to participate in the immersive experience. So maybe if we use our cell phones to be part of that experience, we can use that, right? Or maybe it's not a good idea because not everyone have a cell phone that is the quality that we need.
No, I mean, using cell phones is brilliant. I think if you have a project and you have the opportunity to develop it on cell phones, you should do it. It's brilliant. But then I think you lost what we are talking about here is the immersivity.
Yes.
So it's just a choice, but of course, I mean.
No, I mean like an option if, like you say, yeah, we do in a museum, but not everyone have the glasses, so maybe we can use the cell phone like for the part of the glasses. So like VR, not everyone have the VR like Oculus or something like that. We have cell phones and maybe use like the, I don't know how to say, like.
I think as soon as you work with your museums, headset is not really a problem. Because, I mean, usually, I don't know here in Chile, but in France, all the museums are doing immersive exhibition. They have a partnership with, I don't know, HTC, Meta, or any headset provider. And it's kind of easy, you know, to have like a 20 headset. It's not a big deal, so.
It would be interesting, perhaps, to have experiences in augmented reality because that is happening. Maybe in many cases, you approach the places and there are QR codes with information or that they bring the volumetric work to you. So that is already happening in museums. Thank you so much, Elie. It was a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you.